No matter what angle you look at Patriot, she looks slippery. Above or below the waterline, it's impossible to find a hard angle, a hump or a hollow, or indeed anything that suggests any kind of distortion. She has the lowest freeboard too, which keeps her deckline as low down as possible and helps to achieve the lowest aerodynamic drag. This has the effect of making her look like the smallest boat in the fleet. And it explains why some argue that Patriot is the slickest of the challengers. Aside from their impressive AC-75, when you look at the statistics, American Magic have clocked up the most time on the water. By the 4th of July, the team was top of the table with an estimated 338 days afloat across all of their boats. So we went to have a chat with the team to find out how they were feeling about their campaign and their new boat. From the start of this cycle, when teams were launching and racing test boats and AC-40s, the road to the 37th America's Cup has been a complex one. Striking the balance between the hours spent on a full-size AC-75 from the previous Cup with a test boat and/or an AC-40 was tricky. Like switching between a sports car and a Formula One machine, the two are very different. Get it right and you could learn a lot. Get it wrong and you could burn time fast. But now, as the clock counts down to the start of the Challengers selection with the Louis Vuitton Cup, the road ahead looks more straightforward.
You know, the first quarter of this year was sail development and racing development, and by the end of February, middle of February really, we were into AC-40 two-boat racing, so from the middle of February until the end of April. And now, you know, with the arrival of Patriot and her subsequent launch on May 7th, you know, we're into the development of this boat and understanding the boat and really learning about the subtleties of the boat and where she's strong and, you know, what we have to do to sail her well. So the focus was always going to be in this period of the AC-75 and the development of that. But, you know, we spent a lot of time. You know, we sailed the previous Patriot in Pensacola Bay. We sailed the previous Patriot here. November and December and January of this year. So, you know, we blended our AC-75 with our AC-40 sailing, and it put a lot of pressure on the operation for sure. But it was a worthy exercise because it allowed, you know, really the inexperienced side of our team to catch up to where, you know, the Andrew Campbells and the Paul Goodisons were in the development, and, you know, that side of it is really cool to see, and particularly the system side of the boat. You know, there was a lot of development that took place in November and December and January.
And you did a hell of a lot of days on the water in the AC-40, didn't you? You really stacked them in.
Yeah, well, we're a sailing team, so you know, I guess that's what you do.
Well, there are some teams who haven't taken the same approach, but there we go.
Yeah.
We won't go into that, but...
Yeah, but I mean, you know, all those approaches, each team caters to what they believe is the correct thing, and a fast boat wins the America's Cup, but you have to sail that fast boat well.
Hours on the water still count?
Yeah, I mean, for me, they do.
Talking about hours on the water, now we're seeing the 75s out on the water.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. Today out there was Luna Rosa, us, Ineos, and Alinghi, and, you know, so four of the 6 teams were out on the water. I mean, it's brilliant. So now he'd had a chance to see the challengers in the same patch of water, how did he feel about Patriot? You know, relative to the fleet, the boat's a smaller boat. You know, we're the only team that have chosen the recumbent position inside the race yacht. And so that's, you know, that I was surprised by that, you know, but... You were surprised that others hadn't gone that route? Well, I was just surprised. I mean, you never like to be out on an island, and we are, so... But I trust the process that we took to make that decision. So she's certainly a good-looking boat and very noticeable. Thank you. Well, it does look. Yeah, she's a beauty. It's the first time I've seen her in the flesh. No, she's a beauty. And what really strikes me is how low the freeboard is. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was low when I looked at the videos, but when you see her in the flesh, it really is. Yeah. No, the designers, you know, Britt and Pete and the entire American Magic design team, they're a good balance of experience and understanding kind of what they have to do to be successful. Now, all the teams are like that. So it's not just us. We're not alone in that statement. And you can't, you know, you have to understand what you have, and I think, you know, the fortunate side of it is sailors have all been involved all the way through, and that's a positive, and so, you know, we made a collective decision together, and we push it forward together.
Are you surprised at what you see with the rest of the fleet? Are the designs more extreme than you thought, or how do
Yeah,
you,
I mean, we're at
what's
one
your
end
take?
of the spectrum, and Ineos is at the other end of the spectrum, and everywhere from the Defender to a Lingy is somewhere in between. But you know, it's what you don't see that I think is the critical side of the development of the race yacht. Certainly the foils are a big, you know, they're a big component to it, and the operating system inside the boat, the logic, how the athletes are managing the hydraulic power through the system, and really how the sailors understand how to use that power. And so, you know, the foil side of it is key. And I think when you look at, you know, we haven't had a close look at Team New Zealand because they haven't put new foils on, but certainly everything you can see a lot of very, very smart, well thought out foils in the fleet. And so, yeah, I mean, it's exciting.
I mean, I know it's difficult because you're not allowed to line up with each other, but do you expect to find that the boats are more similar in performance than they were last time, with less vices, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. I think last time Luna Rossa sailed a great regatta, and they did a really good job to beat the Defender at the time in races in a boat that, you know, that wasn't, you know, the foils were 48% bigger than the Defenders. So by that very nature, you know, they were going to have some limitations, but they did a great job of taking races off of them, and, you know, still today you could see where they potentially could have won that series. So and that's with a really big difference here. I think, as you rightfully just pointed out, the fleet's going to come together, and so it'll come down to, you know, sails and foils and sailors and all the things that the America's Cup always comes down to. But it'll be has the potential to be, you know, I think, to be a little bit closer, because the skill set of the sailors and the athletes, and really the maturity of all the design teams, you know, it warrants that type of competition.
So what does the new boat feel like compared to the team's first one from the last Cup?
There's massive differences between this and the old boat, night and day. I think maybe top end, the old boat was probably a little bit faster, just being a little bit heavier, and the section shapes on the foils, but this one is obviously very, very manoeuvrable, and much easier to sail in the lighter conditions. And even when we get uprange, the boat feels more forgiving and more of an all-rounder than the old Patriot.
It's night and day. Obviously our nice big bustle sort of helps us sort of go in and out and transition from displacement to foiling well. If we do make a mistake and fall off, it feels like it's a short-term thing, and you just bustle ride and then get out of there. And the old Patriot was pretty sticky, and it was almost like if you did touch down, it was like it had glue on the bottom of it. It was very hard to get going again. So this Patriot is going really well.
And while this rapid development is happening across the fleet, the pace of change is something that isn't lost on the very teams that are responsible for this new style of racing.
Yeah, I think back to when we first launched Defiant. You know, we sailed her for a week, and then she sat in the shed as we fixed parts inside the boats, and, you know, all the complexities. You know, we're really fortunate. The 50% of our team that we retained was the lion's share was on the shore side of the operation, and so the experience that we continued to have with AC-36 carried over into AC-37, and that was really invaluable when you consider the efficiency in which we launched this boat.
A sustainable future. Yanmar.